Button mashing. Mashing square. Honestly, the only way of beating the Spider-Man games. Or is it? There are heaps of other ways of beating this game, like using only webs. But today, I'd like to try a new way of beating the game. Can you beat Spider-Man Miles Morales with only Venom abilities? So, let's start with what I will consider a Venom ability throughout this run. The Venom Punch, Venom Jump, Venom Dash and the Mega Venom Blast are obvious ones. But there are two skills through the run, namely the Venom Wall Punch and the Venom Yank, that I will count as Venom abilities. Besides this, I can use the web shooters to increase my Venom bar, but I am not allowed to web enemies to the wall, even though it is bound to happen from time to time. And now that we clarified all this, let us begin. My journey started by walking off the subway, and after I helped some people on the street, I was called by Spider-Man to assist him in moving a dangerous prisoner. As I usually do, I managed to fail miserably. I mean, for real, you secure the cargo with web and then you just stay on it? What was I thinking? Because of my stunt, Rhino was now free, and besides him, about a small prison's worth of inmates. Since I didn't have any Venom abilities, this was the first and last moment of this video where I will actually button mash. And it was pretty damn fun. The fun was over when a big Russian man took me for the ride of my life. God, please don't take that out of context. I masterfully avoided everything in the mall and we ended up only ramming into a factory and causing an explosion, so I think we're good. The guy doing this for the last 15 years was somehow badly wounded, so I had to take matters in my own hands. And just like in every movie when the main character is desperate, I unlocked the first Venom ability, the Venom Punch. Okay, so usually when you Venom stun a boss, you go in and punch them a little before going away. But since I am only allowed to do damage with Venom abilities, this fight boils down to dodging, Venom punching him, and then waiting to dodge again. Since I had no knowledge about how much health he had, I made sure to overdo it before going in and giving him the finishing blow.
I will hold him for the police.
What a nice guy. I wonder if he comes back later in the story. After the fight, Pete told me that he was going on vacation, and he congratulated me for being New York's only Spider-Man with a present. It turns out it was a suit, and it looked absolutely... Yeah, let's move on. The second part of my gift consisted of a training device. And here, folks, is where I switched the difficulty from Ultimate to Spectacular. Why, you may ask? Well, because I couldn't survive 3 hits, and besides this, enemies have a lot more health, and it already took me a lot of time to defeat them. But don't imagine that this made the challenge much easier. I still died a bunch, even later when I had a lot of Venom generating abilities. With the training now over, Genki called to inform me that there was a break-in at Roxxon Plaza. I went to investigate, and I met the actual first threat of the run. Big Hands. This enemy dealt high damage and it took about a lot of Venom punches to defeat them. I'm glad I switched the difficulty, because this fight usually takes 10 minutes, but since the only Venom generating abilities I had were the webs and dodging, it took about 40. I can't even begin to imagine how much it would have taken me on Ultimate. Anyways, I found out that those guys were after New Form, but that had to wait since I had a Christmas dinner to attend. I was surprised when Finn showed up, but my excitement turned to frustration when Miles did this. And besides this, Miles decided that it was a good idea to go back inside through the kitchen window, instead of the window he went out of. Very smart. Since I played this game with the music turned off for the video, every music scene was just kinda awkward. So, after the awkwardness started to fade away, Genki made me a new app. An app that will help me help more people. The first person I helped was my uncle. The underground were giving him some problems, so I had to stop them. Very, very slowly. So after 200 years, I finally dispatched of the enemies, and I also helped put the trains back on the tracks. Because you know, they don't have workers for that. The underground got as salty as an average league player when they found out I stopped them. So they decided that the best course of action was to try and blow some stuff around. Thankfully I was there to stop them. Double thankfully, I didn't have to beat them before webbing the bomb. So I started every zone by webbing the bomb, then until I got enough venom to use abilities. At one point the police came to help me, but they were just as useful as I am funny. I went to tell Uncle Aaron that the job was done, and he rewarded me with a train pass. Oh, and he told me that he knew it was me. Yeah, as you can see, I'm not doing a good job at the secret superhero thing. Anyways, since I pretty much spent 3 hours on 2 half-an-hour missions, I had a new goal: get to level 10 before everything else. Why level 10? Well, because at level 10, you unlock a visor mod that gives back a small amount of venom each time you venom stun an enemy. With that and the skill points you get, you can pretty much have a venom punch ready every time. But how did I do it? Well, initially I tried to fight crime around the city, but then, standing here, I realized that the power of the exaggerated swagger gave me much more experience. So I pretty much jumped off the tallest building for the next tower. At the end I got the visor mod, and my skills look like this. Like I said, the venom yank can be used now, though it still has no brim.
Whoa!
After that I met with Finn, and we saw how big of a nerds we were.
The Fibonacci sequence.
Finn seemed kinda bothered, but like a true man, I didn't catch on, and I went to my mom's rally. The gathering was rudely interrupted by the underground, but after dispatching of them, I figured out that it was just a distraction. The bridge was their main target, and I went to stop them. And by stop them, I mean accidentally blow up a bridge. Yeah, as I said, I'm not too good at this. I also found out why Finn was bothered. Oh, so that's why. This was the first fight in the entire run when I actually had fun. It was a constant game of dodging the enemies, juggling between webbing them and picking up venom left by them. Finally, it was all coming together. Unlike the bridge, that was falling apart. Even though I saved the civilians that I put in danger, Roxanne got ready to kill me. Huh, I guess accidental terrorism is still terrorism. Instead of thinking of a way to use my powers more safely, I thought this was high time to do a new custom making montage. Yeah, this is really awkward without the music, so let's move on. Anyways, instead of going to the next mission and getting closer to saving New York, I caught wind of a cat that was catnapped. I'm sorry. I also found out that the guys who stole the cat were planning to cut power from a bank in order to rob it. But hey, since my goal here was to save the cat, we will never find out who was the boss everyone kept talking about. But I think we can exclude the Nazi made out of bees. If you are wondering why I'm not talking about the combat of this mission, it's because nothing eventful happened. I mean, the highlight of this mission was the fact that the boss fight were two brutes. Ooh, scary. Okay, now that I had saved the cat, I used the points I gained from the mission to upgrade my web shooters. What? You thought I did this out of the goodness of my heart? Okay, now it was time to go and find out why was Finn doing all this. In the process of doing this, I went to her old warehouse, which I entered in a very nonchalant way. In here, I found out that she was doing this because of something that happened to Rick. And in the process of finding what happened to him, I went to a Roxanne lab where I saw the guy from the beginning again. Huh? What? He's evil? I had no idea. In this mission, I also met the enemy that will be my biggest problem in every fight, the shield guy. The problem was that, just like trying to use common sense against a middle-aged white woman, my venom had no effect against them. Not only that, but they were able to redirect my attacks. The only way to beat them was to use a venom jump, which does almost no damage, and then use other abilities. To put this into picture, I mostly didn't fail encounters anymore, but I failed this one and the next one for at least 3 or 4 times. Anyways, after that I found out that the new form reactor killed Rick, and I absorbed all of its energy. Turns out it was too much for me, and I ended up splooging in the hallway. After this, my uncle, which I forgot to mention, it was the Prowler, gave me some advice about Finn that can be summed up with this image. With this in mind, I joined the underground, but I had to leave because my mom needed me. I proceeded to sneak in as Spider-Man and not easily defeat an entire room of people. After that, Genki told me that Fist gloved art with a purpose. Wow, so you mean the underground paraded themselves for finding secret rooms like this? Dude, a 7-year-old could figure this out. Anyways, I figured out where was the stolen new form by spying like a true pro. This mission introduces a new enemy type, the sword guy. It has slow attacks that are easy to be dodged, so they were pretty much a venom farm. The only downside is that they can only be put down by a venom dash, which is the new move that I unlocked in this mission. It is a horribly single targeted move, and it hurt me to use an entire venom bar for it. With the mission finished, I got the venom dash jump, and I immediately went to the next mission. The outside generators can be described with one word: awkward. Because I often remained in a 1v1 with an enemy, and it ended up being a slug to knock them out. Because we all know, Spider-Man does not kill people, he only shatters their spine. I got inside and I did the generator puzzle to power up the new form capsule. I found out that they were charging the new form because Finn had a bit of a woman moment. By that I mean, she tried justifying blowing up an entire plaza just to take revenge on Simon Krieger. Now, remember what I said about the sword enemy? It has slow attacks that are easy to be dodged, so they were pretty much a venom farm. Yeah, forget that. That, like every failed social experiment, works only in a controlled environment. So instead of being easy, this fight looked like this. After finally defeating the enemies, Finn showed up and stole the new form. I chased her through the streets until she got on top of a building where she did a WWE move on me. Here, I had to show my face in order to save myself. Had to, in very big quotation marks. Afterwards, I had a lot on my mind, so I met up with Uncle Aaron to sample some sounds for his new mumble rap album.
Finish the tape. Get all the samples.
Yeah, no thanks. I'd like for my ears not to bleed. I also saw him giving away the place where I was going to meet Finn to make up with her. Weird. After the mission, I used the skill point and got the Venom wall punch thingy. Yeah, which will be a very good addition to my attacks. I called Finn, and we met up at the church where we were attacked by Rhino. Huh? I don't believe it. Didn't Simon Cringe say he will take him to the police? I mean, I know he was bad, but I didn't know he was a liar. Okay, I'll stop doing the bit now. Honestly, this next scene is the exact problem I have with this game.
At least I still got a pulse, babe.
This right here, writing police. This is a cartoon character, not a good Spider-Man villain. I mean, we go from Martin Lee and Dr. Octopus to this? God, I hope Spider-Man 2 has better villains. When Simon left, 3 guys started to beat me up. Joke's on you, I'm into that shit. And I proceeded to splooge all over them. Finn was a little bit shocked, but she still helped me get up. The next few fights were just pure joy. The enemies were all in a small and cramped space, prone to get venom stunned. So, I turned to them and said, "I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me." Phew, that was a bit extra. We almost got out, but Rhino busted through the door and said, "Round 2, Spidey." In the first part of the fight, Rhino is immune to venom punches, so I had to punch him in the normal way after he got stunned. Thankfully, the second part of the fight can be done 100% with only venom punches. After the fight, Finn tried to kill Rhino. To stop her, I pretty much had to flank her through a wall. With her bloodlust unsatisfied, she decides to take her anger out on me.
Finn the reactor.
Come near me again. I'll kill you.
I also missed the opportunity to inform her that her plan will not only destroy Roxxon Plaza, but the whole of Harlem. I somehow knew she will be at the old science museum, and I had to stop her. But on the way this happened. He asked me to be like him, and hide to save my own skin when people needed me. Sorry, but I'm not a little bitch! The fight was surprisingly fun for some reason. The Venom generation was really good, and the fight overall didn't take too long. The fight became even better when he started to make clones of himself. It's funny, because he thought that will overwhelm me. But it only made me more powerful because more guys at once are easier than one guy alone. God, please don't take that out of context. With him defeated, I went back to the science museum. The fight outside was really tough. Or that's what I would say if I didn't find out. By the way, this is my third playthrough. That this gate right here recharges one venom bar when you stay on it. So I just evened the odds a little bit by staying here and spamming venom attacks without any break. Inside, I had the retrospective moment to the time me and Finn went to see our nerd project, but we couldn't enter the special exhibit because we didn't have a ticket, so we had to use our nerd brains to find the nerd way of getting inside. Pretty much illegally, but let's not talk about it. After I was done reminiscing about the times when I was not cool, Finn showed up to grab the charged new form. I would have liked to follow her, but she left behind a lot of underground members to slow me down. I managed to beat them after a few failed tries, and I went to Roxxon Plaza, where things started to get a little bit heated. Between the underground and Roxxon, but I think the majority of the heat came from the fucking overcharged new form reactor. I had to fight some small battles here and there, but since I recently unlocked the Venom Buster Nut, I had a pretty good ability for clearing a lot of enemies. Finally, the Tinkerer fight. The climactic battle against our old friend. There she stood, the only thing between us and saving Harlem. Yeah, anyways, the fight is shit. Not being able to do any attacks transformed this fight from a 20-minute back and forth to a whopping 1 hour bore. It didn't help that every time I healed, I wasted several dodges and web shots just to be able to survive one attack. Regardless, I pushed through, and Finn recognized that she was wrong. Yeah, kinda late for that. In order to save Harlem, I had to absorb the energy from the overcharged new form reactor, and I was about to burst and kill everyone, because sure, when I say go away, you stay instead of going away! Suddenly, Finn picked me up and we jumped into the air.
Just let go.
Well, if you consent. After this, the city of Harlem was saved. Too bad I continue to do an absolutely horrible job as Spider-Man, because everyone in Harlem now knew I was Spider-Man. Whatever, who even cares anymore? He might even do a face reveal on YouTube at this point. When it comes to this challenge, I don't really recommend it outside of normal encounters. If you want to do this yourself, I suggest you defeat bosses normally. And now, what can I say except, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next challenge.